So, whether you're a Muslim or a non-Muslim, you're about to understand the Quran like you've never understood it before. Guaranteed.
Oh, yes. Welcome to the Honorable Eminence Sheikh Mufassir David Wood. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Oh, yes, of course. He really meant what he is saying because he is about to explain the Quran to you in a way you have never heard before. Of course, explaining it upside down. Please, if this is your first time coming to our channel, do well to subscribe, turn on the notification button, hit the thumbs up button, and most importantly, share the video. Remember the Prophet said, "Ad-dalu ala al-khair falahu mithlu ajri fa'ili." He who directs anyone to goodness will have a reward similar to that of the person. Of course, let's dive into the video and watch David Wood make a caricature of himself trying to misinterpret the Quran.
I'm not a Muslim, and yet I can say with a straight face, there are some amazing verses in the Quran, and some of them may even come from God. But David, if Muhammad's a false prophet, doesn't that mean everything he said was a lie from Satan? No, false prophets don't come with all lies.
These people, they know they can never fight the message of Islam. The message is too strong and powerful in such a way that they cannot just defeat it, but they have to do one thing, which is make you doubt the person who brought the message to you. And eventually, you will doubt the message. That is their trap. And as a Muslim, be careful not to ever fall on that trap. May Allah guide us all.
Let's go through 3 different kinds of Quran verses that even non-Muslims can agree with. And then we'll see which ones are the paint packs. First, the Quran contains a lot of verses about natural theology. The Quran draws attention to different features of the world and says that they're signs that point to God. For instance, Surah 2, verse 164. Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the variation of the night and the day, and the ships that run upon the sea with what benefits mankind, and the water God sends down from the sky, whereby he revives the earth after its death, scattering all manner of beasts therein, and the shifting of the winds, and the clouds subdued between the sky and the earth, are surely signs for a people who understand. Here, the Quran invites readers to reflect on how the world seems like it's put together for our benefit. We should be filled with gratitude towards our Creator. You can agree with verses like this, even if you're not a Muslim. But is there any reason to think that these verses came from God? No, lots of people do natural theology.
What do natural theologists make out of these verses? What do people who are non-Muslims make out of these verses? The verses are directing you towards a creator who deserves worship. This is where David Woods and a bunch of non-Muslims will sink. What about the verses that has nothing to do with natural theology and are purely divine? Of course, David Woods would either look for a way to change the meanings to suit his own narratives, or he would now come to a conclusion that this is, of course, from Muhammad. And remember, I said Muhammad was a false prophet. Muslims will bear with me that this is a complete example of summun bukmun umyun fahum la yaqilun. Only if he nurtured enough patience to go to the next verse after this to see what it says. Only being able to identify nature, or the nature theologians as he called them, has no meaning, because this is calling for an action. That is why Allah said in the next ayah, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ, and unfortunately amongst the people, مَنْ يَتَّخِذُ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنْدَادًا يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. Amongst the people are some who therefore take others besides Allah and love them the way they were supposed to love Allah. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ, and those who believe are the ones that loves Allah the most. This is where the difference comes in. The signs are clear for everyone to see, but it's only the guided believers that do what is needful.
Second, the Quran responds to critics and skeptics, and some of the responses are surprisingly good. In Surah 22, verse 5, for example, the Quran answers people who mock the idea of the resurrection. Both the Bible and the Quran claim that God will raise people from the dead at the resurrection. Some critics mock belief in the resurrection by saying, seriously, you think God is going to put you back together after you decompose? Listen to the Quran's response. O mankind, If you are in doubt concerning the resurrection, remember, we created you from dust, then from a drop, then from a blood clot, then from a lump of flesh, formed and unformed, that we may make clear for you. And we cause what we will to remain in the wombs for a term appointed. Then we bring you forth as an infant, then that you may reach maturity. And some are taken in death, and some are consigned to the most abject life, so that after having known, they may know nothing. And thou seest the earth desiccated, but when we send down water upon it, it stirs and swells and produces every delightful kind. There are multiple responses packed into this verse. At the end, the Quran points out that you can look around and see things dying. No rain for a few months, all you see is a desert waste. Then it starts raining, and everything springs to life. Sort of like the resurrection. Before that, the Quran refers to different stages of development. You're in the womb, then you're an infant, then you're mature, then you're dead. The idea here is, why is it so absurd to think that there's another stage after death? But the most interesting response is at the beginning of the verse. You think it's crazy that God can put you back together? Have you thought about how you were put together in the first place? God created you from dust, then from a drop of semen, then from a blood clot, then from a lump of flesh. Why do you doubt God's ability to bring you back to life when He's the one who already gave you life? Sadly, the Dawah guys ruin this verse by trying to argue that it contains miraculous scientific knowledge. It doesn't. It's actually wrong. You were never a blood clot. But that's not the point of the verse. The Quran isn't giving miraculous scientific knowledge. It's giving a common but flawed 7th century view of embryonic development. You can change this to a modern view, and the point is still valid. You know that you formed from tiny little things like a sperm and an egg, but you think the resurrection is silly? I actually like that response. But is there any reason to think it's from God? No, it's a good point. Just don't ruin it by pretending there's some miraculous scientific insight here.
I'm sure you were also waiting for a positive outcome from the David Wood. No, he will never bring anything positive. He sees the truth, he recognizes the truth, but there must be a way out to condemn it in one way or the other. That is their manhaj. That is their own methodology. It is very clear. You cannot just come to the Quran and say that it only means one of these two things. It cannot be interpreted in more than one way. The Quran is only answering those who are denying resurrection, and it is not speaking about embryology, so that Muslims will not say that this is a miracle of the Quran that spoke about embryology 1,400 years ago, around 7th century, which will go a long way to prove the fact that Muhammad was not the one who made the Quran, and that the Quran is purely divine. Exactly the same mentality to that of the kuffar of Quraysh, who would say that yes, we know that God exists, and we know that the things you are saying may be from God, but we do not believe in you as a messenger from God. People said these things 1,400 years ago, and today they are regretting in hell. Maybe unfortunately for David, hell is not full yet.
Third, now for the fun part, the Quran is filled with claims about Jesus and the Bible. But even when the Quran...
As for the fun part, that will be our response in the next video. Please do not go away without subscribing. Turn on the notification button and share the video. May Allah bless you as you do so. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.